Hello, and welcome to The Numbers They Tell You a Lot. I'm your host, John Sheeran. In this episode, we're going to ask if the optimism surrounding Vontaze Burfict this offseason has indeed been warranted.
There's another one, and it's picked off. That is Burfict down the sideline.
Now, we're going to go all the way back to 2013, when Burfict finished third in the league with 115 solo tackles. He also made his first and only Pro Bowl that year and was a second-team All-Pro, while finishing tied for sixth in Pro Football Reference's approximate value metric with a value of 17. His incredible year earned him a 3-year extension that made him the fifth highest-paid 43 outside linebacker in the NFL for the 2014 season. But that was the last time Burfict played in all 16 games in the season. Since then, injuries and a reputation for dirty play have changed the perception of Burfict. He only played a combined 15 games from 2014 to 2015, as his negative on-the-field antics and durability concerns took center stage. So it's fair to ask, is he still playing at an elite level when he's now entering his second contract year? Burfict started the 2016 season on the sideline, as he served a 3-game suspension for the playoff loss to the Steelers months prior. But once he returned, he actually started to look like his old self again. There were 25 off-ball linebackers last year who started a minimum of 10 games and recorded a minimum of 70 solo tackles. Burfict played in 11 of Cincinnati's games and racked up 73 solo tackles, which was more than he recorded in 2014 and 2015 combined. Of the 25 qualifying linebackers, Burfict ranked below the 20th percentile in solo tackle market share and percentage of team defensive snaps. But his rankings doesn't tell us all that much since he missed 5 games. Rather, we can look at what he did in those snaps to get a more clear picture. Now, when you divide Burfict's 674 snaps on defense by his 73 solo tackles, you get a 9.23 snap to solo tackle ratio, which is an elite per snap basis that ranks second of the 25 qualifying linebackers. Now, when you multiply Burfict's snaps per game by 16, it projects to about 980 snaps extrapolated over a full 16-game season. Sure, that number would still put him below the 40th percentile of qualifying linebackers, yet when you take those 980 snaps and divide it by his 9.23 snap to solo tackle ratio, it projects a number of about 106. This is the number of solo tackles Burfict would have recorded had he played a 16-game season at his snaps per game rate. Now that would have been 5th amongst qualifying linebackers. Sure, that's impressive, you might say, but another great off-ball linebacker, Kuechly, missed about the same amount of time. So how did Burfict compare to him? Last year, Kuechly started 1 less game but recorded 2 fewer solo tackles than Burfict. He and Burfict shared similar solo tackle market shares, total snaps, snaps per game, and snaps to solo tackle ratios. So I went back to each player's film and charted how many yards were allowed on each tackle and if they were made as run stops within their assignment or if they were pursuit tackles outside of their assignment, as well as if they were made as the middle linebacker or from an outside linebacker position. So we're going to start in run defense. I charted Burfict with 41 solo tackles, where 21 of them were made in his run fit, where it was in his assignment to stop the play. This means the ball was run towards him into his gap, and his job was to fill the gap and make the stop, and he did. And 20 of them were made as pursuit plays, where he was essentially cleaning up the play, the ball was ran to another gap, where he was coming back from the weak side to make the stop. On the 21 plays that were run in his direction, he allowed an average of 3.05 yards per carry, with no yardage on any play exceeding 7 yards. 12 of these tackles were made when he was the middle linebacker, and 9 of them when he was either the weak side linebacker or the strong side linebacker. In the case of the 20 pursuit tackles, an average of 4.6 yards were given up by him, where he recorded 14 solo tackles at the mic and 6 when he wasn't. Now for Kuechly, I charted 43 solo tackles for him in run defense, with 19 of them coming into his fit and 24 coming in pursuit. In the 19 solo tackles that he made in his fit, he allowed an average of 2.58 yards per carry, with a gain of 9 being the longest he allowed. All 19 tackles were with him as the mic in this case. In the case of the 24 pursuit tackles, an average of 3.42 yards were given up. And both Burfict and Kuechly allowed a long run of 14 as their biggest yardage allowed on a pursuit run tackle. Kuechly made these pursuit tackles out of the mic spot 20 times out of the 24 total occurrences as well. Now in coverage, both were similar as well. I charted 34 solo tackles for Burfict in coverage, with 25 of them happening in his assignment, whether it was man or zone coverage. He allowed an average of 7.68 yards per reception before making the tackle, with 19 of the 25 happening when he was the mic. The 9 times he was forced to chase down a pass catcher, an average of 9 yards was allowed. As for Kuechly, I charted 37 solo tackles in coverage, with 19 of them happening in his respective assignment. Now, he allowed an average of 6.79 yards per reception before making the stop. In the other 18 tackles where he was either chasing down a pass catcher or covering someone else's assignment, he allowed an average of 12.06 yards per reception. However, this number is slightly skewed due to the amount of instances Kuechly was a part of a deep prevent defense where he made these tackles. But in conclusion, Burfict was one of the most efficient tacklers on a snap per tackle basis, and the quality of tackles were almost as good as Kuechly, who is widely considered the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL, with most of them when he was also playing middle linebacker just like Kuechly does. Now, there are reports that Burfict has also trimmed down in weight since last season, and he is now participating fully healthy in off-season activities for the first time since 2014. In other words, Burfict is coming off his best year since he performed at an elite level and is in better shape and playing for a new contract. What does that mean for the 2017 season? I can't tell you for sure, but what I know is the numbers, they tell you a lot.